All right, back on the Morning Brew Monday morning, and welcome to the show. It's February 3rd, and it's time to visit with the folks at Albuquerque Business First, and we love our partnership with Albuquerque Business First. And to kick off the business week, we have Dennis Domrzalski with us, veteran reporter, and good to see you, Dennis.
Yeah, good to see you. How you doing?
Thanks for coming in.
I did wanted to ask you. You talked about the Ravens defense, and I forget the other.
The Bears at 85.
But the 85 Bears. I actually spent yesterday morning on YouTube watching the '86 Super Bowl with the Bears demolish. I'm from Chicago, so I had to watch that, and I love that defense.
It's a great defense, and these guys, they're young. They proved it yesterday. They belong in the same conversation.
Yeah, what struck, I didn't watch the entire game. I had some other things I had to get done, but I was struck by the ferocity with which they were hitting.
Yes.
I mean, they were
Pretty
smacking.
amazing.
Yeah, it was cool stuff.
Everybody's going to the office today and talking about this.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it. Yeah. All right, Dennis. Well, let's get into a few stories that you've been covering. Can we talk about the health insurance exchange
absolutely.
first? There's a number attached to it now, and there's been, what,
69.3 million. They just got another federal grant. These exchanges are all built with federal money, meaning your money and my money. That's on top of 34 million that they initially got to start it up, plus an additional 18 million. Now, they're spending like, 20, I forget how much, but they're going to spend an enormous amount of money on outreach. This latest grant is to help them build the individual side of the exchange. Right now, we're just running our business side, and the Fed's healthcare.gov is running the individual side. We want to have our individual side up and running by October 1st. So that's it seems like a lot of money to me, as you mentioned before we went
Just
on.
to build a
website. Yeah, but these things, it's, and I'm not a computer guy, so, they're talking, you got to get Medicaid to talk to it. Then they've got to talk to the feds. They've got to get the IRS involved because they got to, the minute you go on and you punch in your income, your zip code or whatever, and your personal information, that thing is supposed to be able to spit out to tell you whether you're eligible for Medicaid, whether you're eligible for subsidies. And so you've got all this information out there in different places, and it's got to come together in one place. And apparently that takes a little time and perhaps a lot of money. So that's the latest on that. It's good news that we're going to build our own, I guess, because the Fed exchange, as you know, Larry, it's calmed down now, but initially it was a mess.
But would you see that as a plus for New Mexico, being that we're one of the most indigent states in the union, and the great number of uninsured people that we have, to build an exchange with cooperation with the federal government, making such a financial investment in that to cover all of the New Mexican citizens?
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a must, and I think the one thing that the governor doesn't get much credit for, she decided to buy into the expanded Medicaid program. A lot of Republican governors simply have refused to, but with New Mexico, with 400,000 people uninsured, and the other thing about New Mexico, as you just mentioned, our income here, base income, is low. I mean, when you talk about average weekly wages, when you talk about per capita income, we're 10 to 15% below the national average. And it's really breaks your heart when you realize how little money many of our citizens make.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, wow, that's not a good thing. So in other words, in order to qualify for Medicaid now as an adult, you've got to make 138% of the federal poverty or less. That's like $15,000 a year for an individual.
Yeah.
How can you live on that?
Very tough.
You can't.
Yeah.
That's the answer. You can't.
You can't.
No.
And so, these subsidies will help people and get insurance, and hopefully that they'll be healthier and get care up front instead of waiting until you're sick and then going into the emergency room. Hopefully it'll take a little while, It's not going to happen overnight,
No.
but hopefully it'll improve the health of our citizens.
Let's talk about what the legislature is doing with regards to a business development fund.
Yeah,
Bring us up to
some
speed on that.
really, I think, fascinating stuff this past week. It actually, on Thursday, it happened. Kenny Martinez, Democrat, and Mary Kay Papin of the Senate. Kenny Martinez is the Speaker of the House.
Yes.
They introduced a package of bills, 3 of them, going after economic development, meaning to do economic development. These are Democrats, and traditionally they haven't done that. They're throwing nearly $30 million at this, which is in many ways unprecedented. They want to develop a grant fund where economic development agencies can get matching money to hire economic developers to go out and try to bring outside companies in or create jobs or help companies grow. Great thing about it. In that bill, I forget it's House Bill, whatever, they have got a series of accountability measures saying if you get one of these grants, you're going to have to give us a report saying who you hired, what they did, how many projects they brought in, how many jobs they actually created, boom, 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 and it goes on. And that's a first in this state.
Yeah.
They want to create a closing fund of about $10 million. They want to throw $1.5 million at the partnership, the New Mexico partnership, which is supposed to go out and market the states, do statewide marketing, and $4.5 million, if I'm correct, for the job incentive training program. This is huge. This has never been done, and particularly with Democrats doing this, all came out of something called the Legislative Interim Jobs Council, which Speaker Martinez and Mary Kay Papin helped head. It's a first in New Mexico. I'm thrilled to see it because I've been hammering on this economic development stuff, and because the picture has not been pretty in New Mexico.
They're asking for full transparency as well. Which is
Yes, exactly.
Which is nice.
Which
that's important. That shows, to me, that they're legitimate and full of integrity in asking for what they're going for. That's important.
Well, yeah, and then that doesn't happen a lot. And I think this is just the first step. Obviously, this is a short session, and so this is, I was following the Interim Jobs Council and wondering, okay, you've got this blueprint where they say we need 160,000 economic-based jobs just to get even to where we were pre-recession. And so I was wondering, okay, that's a wonderful, and they got everybody to agree. They got labor, they got Republicans, they got Democrats, they got business, but how are you going to do it?
Everybody's on board, though.
Everybody's on board.
Okay.
That's a first, Larry.
Yeah, it really
I think
is.
this news has been so negative. I think people are starting to panic, if you will,
Yeah.
but panic in a good way.
I agree with you. Hey, Dennis, thank you. It's all for you in the pages of Albuquerque Business First, the print edition or online, and you can always follow Dennis's work there. It's always good to see you.
Good to
too.
see you, and nice to see you. I've never met you before, so have fun.
Thanks, Dennis. Dennis Domrzalski with Albuquerque Business First to lead us off today. Hey, the Super Bowl ads were kind of interesting, weren't they? Some really good ones. And Della Esparza from Esparza Advertising to break it down here on the Morning Brew next.